I'm Matt.
Hey, I'm Steve.
Hey, I'm John.
This is the Sober Friends Podcast. We're here for the sober curious, the new guy, and the old timer. We're here to talk about the stuff anyone looking to live alcohol-free has to face day to day, and how we overcame those struggles. We speak for no 12-step group, but we do try to remain anonymous. You're not alone. This is the Sober Friends Podcast. Today on the Sober Friends Podcast, we're going to talk about creating a sober lifestyle and what that means. Steve, you and I were talking about this before I hit the record button, but I'll tell myself a little bit. My AA attendance has been pretty poor over the month of April, and there are reasons for that. Our buddy Tim, who I wish I could give you an episode number because I also discovered that I missed the numbering of one of the episodes. So like episode 100 was really episode 101. But in the early episodes, I think the 30s or 40s, we interviewed Tim. He's the guy who every time he drank, he crashed his car. And he reached out and he was very worried about me. And I was telling him about my sleep apnea issues and I'm tired. And now we also have sports season for the kids. So every Monday night, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, although not this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, my son has volleyball. And he's playing both JV and varsity. Plus, on Monday, the girls also have soccer. One starts at 5:30, one starts at 6:30. And there are going to be some times my wife is on travel. So that stuff's going on. And I was telling him about my fatigue. And he's like, well, you got to do something before the first drink becomes something that looks good to you. And I'm like, Tim, I'm not thinking that way. But he wasn't biting there. I will say, I think I feel fine. Drinking is not my concern. It's I am overextended again. So my plan was to go up to Tim's house yesterday. I didn't do it. My plan was to go Friday. I didn't do it for a number of different reasons. And I think I need to create a little bit of a plan. I think I can go to that Friday meeting. I would just need to take a separate car to volleyball or just mark it down. We've got to plan it out. It's just when I do something, I can do it. When I don't do something, I can't change. I am stuck in inertia. But that's a little bit of what's going on with me. And I think this ties into creating a sober lifestyle and what that means. That's a broad topic. And I'm stealing this from Mark S. from Recovered. Sometimes I go through his like 1,600 episodes that he has and just look at stuff. Why reinvent the wheel when he's done a great job? What's your thoughts on creating a sober lifestyle?
It takes work, right? Like you said, it takes work, and it's easy to. We've talked about it. I mean, you're at a place that I remember well in your life where the kids' activities become a really, really big thing. And you have 3. I had 2. They were a little bit different, but still, 2 is a lot easier than 3, right? 2,
yes, it
goes with one parent, right? I mean, it's easy. They match up. If you have 2 people, 2 parents, one goes one way, one goes the other way. So that was that that is what it is. But it's a hard time. It's busy time, and it does take some flexibility and work, like you said. And maybe for a while, like, hey, listen, these activities don't go on forever, right? We're in April, months. We're almost in May, so we're talking a couple months. Like, it just takes a little bit of thought. Like you said, you got to put a plan together, and you have to change some things up. Maybe that means you don't go to the Monday night meeting. Maybe that means you're like, listen, I'm not going to stress myself out, but I'll go to a different meeting. That I'll go to the Friday, whatever other meeting that's going to work for you, right? The Thursday night meeting, the Friday night meeting, or Tim's house on Saturday, whatever it might be. But you do have to put that in the plan. You do have to, in your case, talk to your wife about it and say, here, I need to do this, right? Mm-hmm. I need to take care of my sobriety, so I need to put a plan into place, and then and just do it. And like I said, everything, it's temporary; it'll pass, and you'll be fine.
I think what's also important is, and this ties into creating a sober lifestyle. I got to be better at reaching out to people. Tim's a good person to reach out to. I can call Tim at any time. I can call you.
Right.
There are people I can reach out to, and because I've gotten out of the habit of that, I don't do it.
Yeah, me neither. I don't do it
tough.
Enough.
It's tough to get into the habit.
Nope, I agree. Lots of people do it. I talk about it all the time. Some of the guys, our buddy Todd, I want to talk to more. Timmy reached out to me a couple of weeks ago about something he was reading. And I told him, like, it was a text message, right? But it's like, we need to talk, like, we need to do this more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And just like everything else, I know Timmy, and I know Timmy will pick up and talk to me whenever I want, but I still feel like, I'm not going to call Timmy and then bother his day, right? I mean, that's the way I still, after all these years, still struggle with that. But that's part of it, I mean, we got to do it. And once in a while, I'll do it. Once in a while, I'll call a couple alcoholics during the day. And man, I love it. I'm like, wow, look at that. I feel like calling up Edson. Edson's a big one. He wants to call 3 alcoholics every day, and he does. I'm one of the people. He just goes through his phone list and calls people all the time.
He doesn't call 3 alcoholics per day.
Yeah.
He calls until he gets 3 alcoholics.
Right, you're right. Absolutely right. That's truth. He talks to 3 alcoholics a day, which might take 8 phone calls, right? Yeah. And every once in a while I'll do it, and I'm like, I should call Edson and tell him I talked to 3. It's like that's the way it feels. But it's work. It's it's a dedication. It's something that you end up doing, and like you and I were talking. It's not like you're at risk. And same thing, I don't feel like it either, like I'm at risk for picking up. But that doesn't mean we can't, okay? We're not naive enough to think, I don't have to worry about that. It just means I do think that we both know when we're sort of, creeping down that path of like, I'm uncomfortable here and I need to really buckle down. I think we're connected enough. And I get it with Timmy. Timmy hasn't seen you, but you and I do this podcast, so we talk, right? At least once a week. Like we're talking for half an hour on the podcast. So, I get to see you. And if I thought that, there was something going on, we would talk about it. That's all.
I am blessed to have somebody like Tim in my life.
Yeah. Who
is willing to have that conversation, to care enough.
Absolutely.
And there's enough alcoholics out there who will say, I'm fine, to get you off the scent. I really am fine. We talked about meetings that I would want to go to. We talked about ones like, I really don't want to go to that meeting.
Right.
And he had mentioned all meetings are good, but I'm not a fan of that one. I think all meetings are good for somebody. Not all meetings are good for me. Right. And I also have an issue with, if I haven't been to a meeting in a while, I'm afraid to go to that meeting because I'm afraid of the reaction I'm going to get. But I think that also goes with some self-esteem issues, which I've also been working on in therapy. So the therapy hasn't ended. That I'm doing, and I consider therapy to be part of my sobriety. And the number one thing I am doing in therapy is of my self-opinion. My therapist is on a mission to change my self-opinion because she thinks very highly of me. So we have that going on, and that never ends. There's always something I'm doing for my sobriety.
Yeah. And that's what we need to do. I mean, we need to make sure that we're living this life of sobriety in all aspects of our life, right? We talk about it. We apply these principles to all aspects of our life. And, I always need to make sure I'm trying to do that. And a lot of times for me, it just happens. And I know it does for you too. Like I've come to accept this lifestyle and accept the changes that I've gotten from this program, and I just let them happen. And I'll tell you a little story about it. Yesterday, I went hiking with John, and so we finished a little bit earlier because it wasn't as long as we thought it was, and I was coming back through Waterbury, which is where I grew up, and it was like lunchtime, and my wife and I had just been talking about hot dogs, and there's a good hot dog place there called Frankie's, really right off the highway. I think I'll stop at Frankie's and grab myself a hot dog. And while I'm standing there waiting, now I'm impatient, I'm hungry, I still want to get home. So they're making, and I know like this way, like these hot dogs are cooked, they're just waiting to be put on a bun. So I'm a little bit impatient standing there, wondering why it's taking 3 or 4 minutes to get my order. But an older gentleman comes up, and he's got a cane, and he orders his 2 chili dogs and puts his cane up, and his cane flops over, and I pick it up for him, and I just and then he gets his order before I get my order, and they put it in a little box for you, and he's got his 2 chili dogs, and he's got a drink, and I could see him struggling with it. And I'm like, do you need some help with that? And he goes, well, maybe I could put my drink in my pocket. Now, it was a fountain drink. It wasn't a bottle. And I'm like, no, you're not going to put that. I'm like, hey, let me carry this to your car. Because this is one of these places like you eat in your car, you eat somewhere, right? So let me carry this to your car for you. And I saw this woman smile, and it was a simple little thing. But this is my point. I would not have been able to focus on that. I would have been so focused on why my meal was taking so long to get, right? Like, I was able to see this guy struggle. It was a short little thing. I walked over, he sat in his car, and we had a little conversation. I gave it to him. Boom. That's not as simple as that sounds. And again, there was a dozen other people around. Nobody else helped him. Nobody else offered to help him, right? And this is not great. This is not yay for Steve. This is me saying that I've done this program, and it allows me to see how I might be able to help that person, all right? And it just happened. And, I walked out, I did it. I felt great. I came up and I finally got my meal and had some and shared my hot dog with my dog. And we had a good old time and just came home. But the program and having a program of sobriety throughout my whole life allows me to have that interaction with that gentleman. Whereas before, maybe I don't, or maybe I watch him struggle and then drop everything on the ground. And then, maybe I should have helped them, right? I mean it. Like, that's how it would have been. So it really is about me figuring out, living this program throughout my life. And then, like I said, when things get, Timmy's not wrong, right? Mm-hmm. What Timmy is saying is that, what you're saying is that, listen, I got this sleep apnea going on, plus I got this schedule going on. We talk about it all the time, that as life gets crazy, it calls for more AA, not less AA, right? And I think that's the point he's making. Not so much about the sleep apnea part of it, but like the talk of, okay, the schedules are getting crazy. And I think he's saying, well, now's the time to buckle down to AA to try to keep. And that's true. I find that to be a true antidote. Like, do more AA during these times, and you'll get through that other stuff easier.
Yeah, he's right. And I think the reading that he wanted you to read is probably the same one he sent to me.
Oh, yeah.
He wants me to read this. He is desperate. He's telling me you will order this book, which I haven't yet. I said I would. I'll order it today. I am willing to have a spiritual reading.
Right.
We talked a little bit off the air about spirituality. And what you talked about with the gentleman with the hot dog, this is part of spirituality as the higher power sends a message. It always makes me feel good to do a good thing for somebody else. I think the only thing I would have changed, as you're saying it, it occurred to me, we can't ask somebody like that, do you need help? We have to ask, let me help you with that.
Well, I finally did. Right. The first time I said, you want me to help you with that? That's when he started putting stuff. And then finally, here, let me take this to your car for you. I sort of told him, let me take this to your car. And I'll tell you, the only thing I would have changed is I didn't realize I hadn't been to this place a long time. But at the end, it's a sort of a long building. There's a Carvel ice cream store and a package store there. But on the other end of the building, there was a little pavilion with some tables. And had I seen those, because I thought about going over there myself, because he was going to sit in his car and eat. Had I gone over there, the ideal thing would have been, hey, why don't we go sit together and eat our meal together, right? And like I said, I didn't even notice. I ended up eating mine in the car too, because I had the dog and all. But your point is absolutely right. It's a connection that is spiritual in nature for me. Right, it is, and we had a little conversation with this man. He told me he woke up his car, his wife's car woke up with a flat tire. It just was this little interaction. It took about 2 minutes out of my day, but it left an impression on me, and I think it probably left an impression on him that there's some nice people out there who who are willing to help. Those are the things, like I said, those are the things that having a program and making sure that I'm working my program and what a successful program looks like, those are the things that happen in my life because of my program.
When we do things that are nice for other people, it is such a good feeling. We don't do it enough. And if I hadn't created a sober lifestyle, I wouldn't think of those things. I'm constantly looking for the opportunity to be nice to somebody else or to do something.
Right.
It could very well be just being nice to the person at the grocery store.
Absolutely.
I was at the grocery store yesterday, and the woman there had a headdress. And the only thing I could think of with her is, I bet she gets a lot of crap.
Right.
And it was really important to me, look her in the eye, smile, and just be a kind human to this person. I hate to generalize, but I know how nasty this society can be. And it just was important. Let me let her know that South Windsor is a nice place.
Right.
Somebody else in the store who is transgender, I try to be as kind as I can to this person, because I just know that there are people around here who are really crappy to people like that. The people who are making lower wages, there are people who feel superior, I guess, overcoming their own insecurity, and they put down other people. And that really bothers me.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable place. It's something that I think we've seen. I've seen it. I've participated. I won't say that I've never participated in it. I don't anymore.
Oh, I sure have.
Right. So
I've been a prick.
And I don't consciously do it anymore. But the grocery store is one of those great places that we can put a sober lifestyle to use. I do a lot of stuff. Like I'm always looking for people. Like if I'm walking around, like somebody who might need help, whether there's somebody reaching for something. I mean, so many times I'm like, hey, do you need help with that? And I'll let. And again, I can be impatient at times. I can be impatient, and it's more directed at the store nowadays, right? So many of these stores have moved to this, self scanning thing.
Yep.
I was in Stop and Shop in Manchester, and it's like, and I was just in there for a little bit of stuff. I get in there, and it's like there's two, and I almost never. I will go to the self checkout thing for a couple items if I'm in a hurry, but if I have a carriage with me, if I have a basket, I'm going to a place where a person will do it for me. And there's two there's 2 man cashiers open, and there's 4 people in each line, and it's just like, that irritates me, because that's just a business decision, right? It's just a business decision of, nope, we're going to try to force you to do it yourself. And that irritates me. So I got to be careful with that kind of stuff. But again, it all boils down to, how do I make this sober lifestyle, and what does a sober lifestyle look like, right? And it looks like me not being a dick no matter what the situation is, right? It's about me owning my own actions so that I can, be helpful rather than be part of the problem,
I would say, go ahead.
No. My buddy Rick always says, when I got here, I was a drain. He goes, now I want to be a faucet. Right? Like he used to, and I get that, like that little thing, like that's what I want to be. I want to be helpful. I want to be providing something rather than just sucking stuff out. So it's hard, and it's hard in our society. It's hard where we are with a lot of aspects of our life. I don't know. It's a difficult thing, but it takes work, and we need to continue to just work on it. Just keep working it.
This is where the woke mind virus burrows into my ear.
Yeah.
But it is sometimes hard to maintain a sober lifestyle interacting with big companies nowadays. You're absolutely right in the store. Calling in somewhere as somebody who, for a living, handles the other end of that automated system. There's a lot of ways, dealing with the insurance company. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways that companies have made it to the point where they incentivize bad behavior. And it is hard sometimes to maintain that. And this is also where Hulk comes in: hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Right. You
clearly getting those hot dogs were in the East, at least in the H and the T.
Right.
At the very least.
Right. No, I get it. Absolutely. And again, even though I thought I'd do it, like I still wanted to get home, even though I knew, like, my wife loves to nap in the afternoon. I knew by the time I got home, she'd probably be either taking a nap or getting ready to take a nap. So there was no hurry. But still, again, that's just one of my character defects, being impatient, sometimes not being able to enjoy that moment. But I did, like I said, and it turned out well for me. And and you do have to be careful. I know those signs. I've had those signs before. I'm very much aware of making sure that I take care of the basic needs of myself, right? Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, to the most part. I mentioned to you, I'm doing a little bit of a volunteer thing, and part of it is it's in town. It's a new thing they set up. It's a tech center where they're going to do some classes for older adults for online safety and stuff like that. But one of the things we've talked about is there's this big epidemic of loneliness going on, right?
Yep.
And it's one of the things that I'm aware of. I don't suffer from it because I'm active, but I think about that little interaction I had with that older gentleman. I don't know how many interactions he has with other people, right? He was like, listen, I'm not a young guy, but he was, I would say he was in his 80s, I don't know how many other interactions he has. So it's important that when I have an interaction with another human being out there, that it's a positive one for as much as I can make it one, right? And that not always the way I want these interactions to go. Sometimes I want these interactions to be adversarial, depending on what. And so anyway, so it's all work, and it's about, like I said, how what's a sober life look like? And a sober program looks like me being helpful rather than a problem. That's what it looks like to me.
I'm trying to eat soberly, and I'm realizing I have had weight issues since a kid, but I've also I can go back as far as I can remember with this feeling of euphoria eating too much, like 3, 4, 5, and I've got to change that. On the other hand, I also have to not beat myself up when I eat something unhealthy. This calorie counter has helped. I went to ABC Burger on Friday with the family, one of my favorite places, great burgers. And because of how I ate during the day, I had plenty of calories for that. And then instead of fries, I swapped out a salad because, quite frankly, fries for me are a conduit for ketchup. That's the really only reason I eat them. But I'm also thinking, every bite that I eat, I'm thinking through, why am I eating this?
Right.
I have to go through that exercise because I've realized for too long, I eat to get a feeling of euphoria, just like booze. And I got to think differently. It's the only way things are going to change for me. And because of some of the health issues that are right now really just warning signs, I got to get this right now. And it has motivated me to get some exercise. Now, on the other side, I don't know if this is sober behavior, but somebody at work pissed me off. And not for anything I did, but because they put me in a bad position in a meeting, and we have a step challenge at work. And this person was about 5,000 steps ahead of me. And I made damn sure this week that person was not going to win that step challenge. So I have gone out at every opportunity, even if it's 15 minutes, to take a walk. And the side effect of that's helped me.
Right.
I'm getting healthier. I'm getting outside. The motivated reason is a bit of a resentment that I'm not going to let this person win. And it has pushed me to do some of the right behaviors. But I have to tell you, I saw that she was ahead of me, and I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Now it's not going to happen.
It's funny you say that because I've done that too, where I've been having some problems either with my wife, usually with my wife, and it'll push me one of two ways. It'll push me to do destructive behavior, such as eat too much or eat unhealthy stuff, or it could push me into, no, screw it, I'm going to go to gym, I'm going to work out, I'm going to get, like I'm pissed off. Like it's done both for me. So yeah, those little resentments, they're not always bad. Again, we can recognize them, and there's good stuff and bad stuff. If you can take that as a challenge, if it could push you into something that's healthy, good. There's nothing all that harmful about something like that. So
the gym, getting away from a resentment is a good thing.
It is.
I have this resentment. I'm not feeling good. I know a good half hour, 45-minute, hour workout.
Yeah.
I can beat it out on the treadmill. I can beat it out on the bench press. I will feel better and I will have a clearer mind when I come home. Yeah. That's a great way to do it.
There is no question that when you're feeling icky, like if you can go and put a good workout in, and I mean a good one, like, whatever, and I shouldn't even say that. If you can go put a decent workout in and do something, it's the old move a muscle, change a thought thing. It sort of fits into that saying, and I don't think there's any question that for me that works. It's always worked. So yeah, I mean, it's how we build it. You build it block by block, right? We talk about you build it block by block. The thing about you is that, and with your current situation is like, it, right? I mean, we came out and you started talking about it right away. Like, there's challenges ahead with the new schedule coming up. Yep. So therefore, you're conscious of it and you're going to think about it, right? And you'll figure it out. And again, it may mean that you don't get to every meeting that you'd like to get to, but you'll figure it out and you'll make sure that things, and if not, right, then people like, we'll talk about it, and I'm sure you'll talk about it. One thing I know about you, Matt, and you're like me, like if you get squirrely, you're going to call people, right? You don't call people on a regular basis, and that's me too. But when you start getting squirrely, you will pick up the phone and call people. And that's the important part of, our program, is to make sure that when we start feeling like something's going sideways, is that we pick up the phone and we do something about that. And plus, you got the therapy going on. So you have a lot of good stuff that you're doing right now. The part of that is, again, you got to schedule the therapy in, right? I mean, you got to do that. We've had to move our podcast a little bit around because of that. So things, life's busy. Like I said, at your age with 3 kids at home, life is busy, man. And it's going to be busy for a while. So it's just about, building blocks. Just keep building that stuff and making sure you have a sound foundation. And listen, we're both blessed to have people like Timmy in our life. I mean it, right? To somebody who hasn't seen you and, they reach out. Hey, what's up? You okay? You're not okay? Because if you said, no, I'm not okay, I'm going to tell you, Timmy would have said, well, let's do something about that, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to a meeting. Let's get together. Let's have coffee. Let's have, like there'd be some action behind that. It's just not old dude, so we're blessed to have this. We're blessed to have those type of people in our lives. It's why I love this program, is because I know those people are out there for me too, that, when I need help, I mean, there's a slew of people who I could pick up the phone. Some of them I only know for the hour that I spend in the meeting with them. Like, that's all I know them from. But if I call them up and ask them for help, or ask them, hey, listen, I need to talk to somebody. You got time for a cup of coffee or a bite to eat? They would make time for me.
Yeah.
Because I would do the same for them. And that is the wonderful thing about building a sober life, building a program, and then incorporating other people into that program, because as we talk about it all the time, this is not, if we could do this on our own, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Right.
We wouldn't be doing a 12-step program that requires us to go to meetings and share with other alcoholics if I didn't need to do that. Now, some of that, again, is the fellowship, and I enjoy doing that, right? I enjoy Timmy. I love going in. But a lot of it is the fact that I need to, I was really, really tired Friday night. I mean, very tired. And I pick up my buddy Mike, and we're going in. And even Mike noticed it. Like, he could tell I wasn't talking. We weren't having our typical but and I'm making coffee for this month. So that means I got to be there at 6:00 for a 7:30 meeting. And, and I don't leave that meeting until after 9. It's a long day for me. And I actually went there and we set everything up. I got the coffee going. And we have those brown padded chairs, and I put 3 of them together and laid down on them. That's how I felt. I've never done that before. And matter of fact, Edson walked in about 6:45 because I got a good half an hour before anybody else comes in here. And he comes in, and I'm like, oh, damn you, Edson. Now I got to get up. My point is that I showed up for that commitment. I showed up for that I showed up for that meeting, and that's part of how I do that for me. And I felt fine by the time I left. I don't usually drink coffee at night, but I'm like, I think I'll have a half a cup of coffee. It's probably exactly what I needed.
Yeah,
a little bit of caffeine boost, and the time I got home, I felt fine. I got home. I even walked the dog, which I haven't been doing after meetings. But we were out like 9:30, quarter to 10, and I was outside walking the dog. It's a beautiful way. We have a great program, Matt. And for anybody out there listening to it, it's a great program to help you in all aspects of your life. Here, what are we talking about? We're talking about living life on life's terms today, Matt. You got a bunch of stuff in front of you. You got to figure out how to do it. Without getting crazy.
And you can.
Yeah.
You can get through all the crazy stuff. It doesn't have to be a perfect life. Every day doesn't have to be happy, but you can get through the unhappiness without needing a drink. You can get through the choppy waves and know that the choppy waves will end at some point, especially if your behavior changes, but you can get through life's storm and know you'll come out the other side okay, and you don't need, whether it's too much food or smoking a joint or a glass of beer, you don't need that. There are ways to get through it and that you're stronger. And now it's your turn. Boy, the audience has been very engaged. I am not coming prepared with some of the emails and stuff that I have been sent. But I'm getting emails at soberfriendspod.com where you can email me, Matt@soberfriendspod, or a direct message on Instagram, soberfriendspod, where I've been negligent just because I got to drop something. And if it's going to be that, it's going to be posting on social media. I can handle what I can handle right now. And I'm not going to add on more than I can't.
That's it.
Which is the tough stuff. All right. I feel better this morning. I'm off to be ready to have a great day today. Thank you for this.
Got yard work to do, which I've been avoiding, so I'll do it.
Me too.
Yeah, nice. Got my buddy Mike coming over to give me a hand, and he's like, do you want to work? And I'm like, I don't want to work, but come on, let's plan it. So get out there, do a little yard work, not too much, and enjoy the rest of the day.
And we'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody. You made it this far into the podcast. That tells me you're a pretty big fan. If you like what we do and you find value in the podcast, consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/soberfriendspod. Your donation keeps us on the air to help out the new guy and helps us defray some of our costs. If you find value in our podcast, please consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/soberfriendspod.